Well, hello. I've been doing public speaking for such a long time, and I don't know, it's like today is a special day. I'm extremely nervous. Can you believe that? For someone who used to do stand-up comedy, it's no, we all get nervous all the time. I'm a wreck. But especially, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of someone who has been an inspiration to me. And this is when you think, you know, we're not often aware of the impact we have on others just by doing the things we do. And I'd like to thank you, Liz, for being an inspiration to me. I look up to you so much, and this is why I'm like, my legs are shaking. They don't, it doesn't look like that because, you know, when you're chubby and you're happy, you know. But anyway, today the name of my talk is Automation 101. It's automation without frustration, and to set your expectations to none. It's going to be, I don't intend to show a huge model and tell you all the secrets of automation because it's impossible, you know, to condense so much information on such an interesting subject. Gosh, my vision is cloudy and I thought I was going to pass out, but my glasses, the humidity. Anyway, so this is my pedigree chart. Nah. Who am I? My name is Diana Rodriguez. I'm the Chief DevOps Architect at a company called VoiceThread. And saying that I am the Chief DevOps Architect, I am the only DevOps person in the company. So they gave me an awesome title to motivate me to do awesome things. I'm also a worldwide community organizer at VU Vixens, and we do a lot of things for women in technology, women and those who identify as such. And our idea with this is to empower women and to insert them with confidence in the global ecosystem. So we want everyone to sit at the table. And well, I'm also a Google developer expert in a few categories, web, cloud, and maps. And it's funny because I am horrible with orientation. There's my Twitter. There's a Sunstone because I love Steven Universe. I like IoT. I love traveling. I love food. I like Vue.js. I like infrastructure, and I love food a lot. So now after the who am I not, I'm not that chick. I'm not the oracle. I don't know all the answers. But the little or much I know, I love to share it with people. And if there's any way to make this talk better or to add information that you think would make things a lot more awesome, you know, feel free to ping me on Twitter. That's what we're here for, right? Anyway, so I always take this from the Vue.js documentation, and I know it's like, hi, I'm a wall of text, but I like what it says, and this is something I try to practice as much, and I try to spread this kind of culture. We say DevOps, but it could be anything, you know, the names change as diets come along. But I like what it says, so I'll read it. The adoption of DevOps culture, tools, and agile engineering practices has, among other things, the nice effect of increasing the collaboration between the roles of development and operation. So this is all about collaboration, and here we're going great. One of the main problems of the past, but also today in some realities, like mine, is that the dev team tended to be uninterested in the operation and maintenance of a system once it was handed over to the ops team. And this is something that is going on nowadays. It's like, yeah, we've got our app, we shipped it, now you take care of it. If it breaks, it's your problem, not mine. Many times I've seen developers say, well, yeah, I did deploy it, and then I see, well, but it didn't pass the test, you know. I don't know how you did it, and I want to learn that magic. Anyway, so yeah, well, the latter tended to be not really aware of the system's business goals, and therefore reluctant in satisfying the operational needs of the system, also referred to as whims of developers. And then this is about collaboration. Our idea is that, transferring this knowledge to the other teams, it's not like you have to change your specialty, but it's knowledge that won't hurt you. I used to work at a hotel. It was my father's hotel, and at first I thought I was going to be in the reception, or some kind of manager. And my dad made me go with the cleaning team, housekeeping, make beds, clean the hotel, go to the laundry, also deliver food from the restaurant. And then when I finally made it to the front desk, I could estimate, the time our room could be ready if it was an emergency, or I could handle the problems or complaints of all these people because I knew the process. It didn't mean I did it perfectly, but I knew the process. This is what it's all about. So moving on. Hi, this is the cloud not long ago. This is what we used to do. This is how I started things. The cloud was this. And let's see, the cloud nowadays, it's not much different. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the cloud. The cool thing about it is that when we need to provision infrastructure, we do it through an automated process and sometimes a really nice looking UI, while we have minions like this gentleman here running around with carts and stacking racks to meet our demand. So for us, it's very simple. We don't have to have our own data centers anymore. We just, do a few clicks, purchase our instances or whatever we want to deploy, or talk about a reservation, and then boom, we've got everything ready. And my idea with this is for you guys, I don't know if you're familiar with it, to talk about automation, knowing what automation really is. So it's basically, tools and processes to reduce manual efforts associated with provisioning and managing infrastructure. So if we can reduce the human labor with this, let's find a way to do it. And then we come to infrastructure as a code. So what we do is to manage all of infrastructure in a descriptive model using the same versioning as a DevOps team uses for source code. So infrastructure as code evolved to solve the problem of environment drifting the release pipeline. So it's supposed to make things easier, right? Say we describe what we want, we push, we commit, push, etc., and then boom, infrastructure starts appearing to our wishes, right? But it's like, my mind is full of trucks. At first, I was like, how am I gonna get this? And I've been in this industry for 18 years, It's so easy to fall in this whole old school things, my way, not your way, millennial, thing. And I came up with a lot of frustration factors when it comes to this thing about automation. And these are all walls that I've crashed into. So the first one would be the learning curve, or the complexity of tools. And that has happened to me with, I don't know, whatever. Let me mention CloudFormation. If anyone loves it, I admire you. It's not me bashing a tool, but for me, it just wasn't doing the trick. Then there's lack of documentation, or like a really small community, so there's no real tooling, no real support. Or sometimes some big companies release these amazing features, and then you're like, okay, but how do I use it? And then you go to the documentation, and there's like 2 pages, and it's a very generic view to something more complex. That is common too. There's also, well, I can use the open source version or the paid version. And it turns out that all the amazing features of this tool that you want to use are only present in the paid version. There's also adaptability. If you have specific needs, like I'm going to show you with the place I'm working at now, sometimes these tools and these features don't adapt to suit your needs, and it's a shame. Then there's provider compatibility. I don't know. My company is using Paperspace or Linode, and I don't see it in the list of providers that this tool works with. So what do I do? And then restrictions or lack of control. I have awesome examples of that. And the last one is migration issues. So I was using Chef, and I want to do, I don't know, I want to use Puppet, or I want to use an open source tool I found somewhere else. And if I want to migrate, it's like, oh crap, I have to do it all from scratch because there's no, like, how do I fit this together? I don't know. What's going to happen now? It's the gospel according to Diana Rodriguez. So this is no fountain of wisdom or anything. This is my own experience. And this is how I eliminated the frustration factors. When I had to argue about this with my boss, who is someone from the COBOL generation, he asked me why. It's like, why do you want to automate this way? Our infrastructure is running well as it is. We are stagnant, but we don't have any errors. And I was like, great. I mean, fine. First thing, or first reason, is to get rid of error-prone errors. Where there's a human behind a keyboard, there's always a huge chance of, bombing it, right? Then the second reason I gave him was like, well, we got to get this computer or this cloud do the work for us. Like, why do I have to work for the cloud, right? It makes your life easier. Well, it just changes the level of worry, You are preoccupied with something else, but let's say it's much easier to handle it that way. You can reuse code, and if you don't want to repeat the same tasks over and over again, just script the crap out of it. So yeah, that's me. So now that we're in the automation and infrastructure as code, two other concepts that are very important and people get confused about are configuration orchestration versus configuration management. And from knowing this, your decision to use this or that tool will be affected greatly. And what has happened is that mostly people or at least in my reality, in this dark side of everything, the concepts are not clear enough. And then we're using tools that don't do what we want them to do. They can do part of the job, but not all of it, So just to give you an example, configuration orchestration tools like Terraform and CloudFormation, they automate deployments of servers and other infrastructure. So it's just that. And then the management tools like Chef or Puppet, or I could say Juju as well, they help to configure the software and systems on this infrastructure that has been already provisioned. So if I wanted to give a real life example, I'd say I would deploy all my infrastructure with Terraform, but I have to run some on-boot scripts, or I have to configure the environment, or I have to, add these specific things, specific tasks to each provision instance to run on boot. And I can use configuration management tools. And then the thing is, and this is what makes it confusing, is that these orchestration tools sometimes do a little bit of configuration management, And some configuration management tools do some level of orchestration. So it's a matter of, choosing your destiny and trying to do your best. I apologize for the for the walls of texts, but it's information that it's easy to, swap around and get confused. And because I'm a fan of taking pictures of slides, I always leave some to it. So these are some of the tools, So on the orchestration side, we've got tools like Terraform, GCP has a deployment manager, Azure has the resource manager, and then AWS has CloudFormation. Then the Ubuntu people brought up Juju, which does a little bit of both. And then on the management tools, we've got Chef, Puppet, Ansible. SaltStack is actually, they describe themselves as infrastructure as data. I really haven't played with it, but I think it's an interesting concept. And like I said before, with these tools on that side, we deploy infrastructure. And with the tools in here, we manage that infrastructure. The resources. We bootstrap and initialize resources. Spanish is my first language. In any case, whatever floats your log, it's a matter of, I try to be the most agnostic person when it comes to recommending tools or services, because the same things that are easy for me can be really difficult for you, and it's a very subjective thing. Use what works for you. That is the wisest piece of advice I can give to anyone when it comes to infrastructure and even in life too, It's like, whatever makes you happy and whatever works, there's no judgment. Modern problems require modern solutions. Anyway, so what we had, and this is now the personal side of things, this is what we had on VoiceThread. They use CloudFormation. And yeah, CloudFormation allows you to describe and provision infrastructure as a simple text file in an automated and secure manner. And yeah, that file is the single source of truth for your cloud environment. What happened with us was that we used JSONs and we had humongous templates for all of our infrastructure. And then what happened, provisioning, was that we didn't know what was happening. So say I created an image for my dev box and was ready to provision and did all my amazing things in the console. Let's go. 20 minutes later, because I could see the logs, in the process. 20 minutes later, it yelled at me and it said, oh, oops, one of your scripts failed, so I'm just going to roll back. I'm not going to provision this for you. And then it didn't really give me an output of what the errors were. And that was frustrating to the point of bringing tears to my eyes. So yeah, after crying like a baby for so long and not understanding anything, because I was like, okay, I've got no idea, And I'm responsible of this infrastructure that serves like 2 million people in, I don't know, so many places. And I don't know why, when, I kind of had to manually debug things. And when you're in infrastructure, you're trying to make it as predictable as possible so you can put out fires before they happen. And when they happen, you have enough time to act quickly. And this wasn't doing the job for me, Like I said, let's keep it platform agnostic. But this is what happened with me in CloudFormation. And again, I was the only one responsible for all of this. So for me, eliminating frustration factors, I had to, at this slide, to remind myself of what the problem was. I could describe so many things and complain all day and rant about CloudFormation and all my frustrations. But basically, we decided, and when I say we, it's me and myself in the company, I decided to migrate to Terraform because of the learning curve. For me, CloudFormation was something I couldn't really get my head around, and I was responsible of it, and I needed something I could, you know, sort of transmit to the rest of the team in an easy way, because I didn't want everyone to be dependent on me only. I wanted everyone to be able to respond if we had any emergencies. These on-call rotations were like 99% me, you know. Oh, you're DevOps, you know. You should work 400 days a year, adding the days that don't exist in the calendar, you know. So, you know, I wanted to make it something where we could all jump in if it was simple and well described. The learning curve, the restrictions we had with CloudFormation were too difficult for us as a company, and we didn't have really good ways to handle these errors, the rollbacks. Manual debugging every time wasn't a solution we wanted to go with. So before me, there were 2 or 3 DevOps people, sysadmins, SREs, or whatever you want to call it, that they use management tools like Chef. They try to use Puppet. They try to implement Juju with no real results. And the problem was that they lacked the knowledge. They didn't have enough time to acquire the knowledge to master it to a decent extent, a tool, so they could troubleshoot or provide any assistance. It was more like, oh, this is cool, let's try it. And then, oh, it doesn't work, sorry. I'm going, you know, somewhere else. So before I got in, the CTO decided to create some boot scripts the old way, good old bash, you know, good old shell. And I'm sure that the process will be improved as we go, but my priority was to resolve the main issue. We had no good way to deploy infrastructure, and I had no good way before that to pass on that knowledge to anyone. I didn't want things to die with me. You know what I mean? And this is a company that was founded by an amazing man who has a lot of knowledge, but his mentality was COBOL, you know. It's like, I keep all the knowledge with me, and I don't do documentation because I don't want the, you know, other people to know what I do, when it wasn't necessarily that way, right? Anyway, so we use Terraform. Do you guys know Terraform at all? Yeah, do you love it? Me too. So, well, Terraform is a tool. It's a multi-cloud immutable infrastructure tool. It works wonders. It's great for building, changing, and versioning infrastructure. And it manages pretty much, you know, you can pair it even with DigitalOcean. So it goes with everything. You can do your in-house solutions. If you have on-prem infrastructure or any of the providers out there. And what I like it is that you can use your deployment pipelines for software the same way you do it, for infrastructure the same way you do it for code. So say if you want to add tags for releases and just push your plans and, you know, get people to know what is it that you're doing, with Terraform it works like a charm. Obviously, yeah, source control and testing, you can actually test with Selenium. It goes okay. I'm not so much into testing, but all good. It's platform agnostic, and it's got a really strong community, and it's open source. There's also a paid version, which works okay. And the learning curve is pretty easy. I actually like it a lot. And you can reuse code, so if you want to make any changes or use a module for a different environment, whatever, I mean, it gives you enough flexibility to do wonderful things. And then you can plan and review those plans before applying changes. So anyway, this is what a configuration file for Terraform looks like. It's pretty easy and human readable. That would be kind of like how Terraform shows you what's going to happen when it inits. And then if you plan and apply something, it will show you what resources are going to be created, changed, or destroyed. So even before applying a plan, you have enough prompts to confirm that what you're doing is really what you want to do. So it keeps you safe from setting things on fire. I still manage to, break everything because it's me. And then, well, that would be kind of like what the end result would look. This is our infrastructure, our smallest infrastructure in our company. And it serves a lot of people. So say 18 prod, 7 staging, and 28 dev stacks. It sounds little, but it's a lot to handle. This is only for one of our products, the smallest one. So when we migrated to Terraform, I explained to everyone that it was cool because we were going to put everything in a repository, and we were going to use our existing deployment flow using tags for releases. Then we're going to, and we do have now, an S3 bucket to store the state, which is a remote backend. And we use a log protection. So if I'm about to apply something and someone wants to do the same thing, we don't call out and we don't corrupt those state files. And well, we migrated our current resources and we referenced our standard templates. So I use the same JSON templates for the instances. And it was much easier to just say, well, these are the instance types, these are the resources we're going to use, etc. And well, communication. Initially, when we started migrating this, I said, okay, we're going to create a channel called Terraform. We're going to post our plans manually. We discuss, and then we apply. And I was the first one to make the horrible mistake of trusting the human hand for this. So if you see here, I posted a plan any given day. I wanted to change the evaluation periods of the CloudWatch alarm from 2 to 4 for, 4 or 5 minute periods, because I got a lot of alarms for stupid things. And then these ones are pretty much, the Slack hook and what this is going to show on Slack, etc. And then, great. I posted the plan and I'm showing my team that I'm going to make this change, but there's something I didn't notice. I don't know if anyone sees where the mistake is. Very easy. I'll show you. Okay, that was good. So it's 1:14 p.m. and our compute cluster, which does a lot of video and media processing, was scaled to 18. And because my plan was showing that the desired capacity was a default of 8 with low traffic, peak hour, I downscaled, or this plan was showing that it was going to downscale from 18 to 8. So I was killing 10 instances in rush hour. And then immediately, you see, at 1:14, I posted the plan. I didn't care about anyone else's opinion because I thought it was fine and I was doing what I was supposed to do. And boom, apply the changes and panic. I set the house on fire, which is one of my specialties. So, so I killed 10 machines. It was great. There was a lot of rushing from my side because, yay, I'm the DevOps person. So I had to manually resolve it. And I mean, it wasn't a big deal. It was, but not so much. I also caused a 14-minute downtime one time. And we decided to do something to improve these CloudWatch alarms with more freedom. Decided that it was important that we have good isolation policies for these deployments, that they didn't affect any other resources in the same workspace. Yeah, we did reduce the deployment time. We used prevent destroy for critical resources. Those were the things that didn't happen before. And then as a safe way, we use Lambda functions to check health of resources not attached to an ELB. On Amazon, you can check the health of resources through the load balancer, which is quite cool. Improve the Slack hooks to notify of changes in that Terraform channel. And then the best part of it was that we have enough adaptability to develop wrapper scripts to allow these operations with a single command that anyone could like totally do. And it included committing the code, planning and locking plans and refreshing the remote state, notifying of upcoming changes with specific tags, and display all the plans on Slack for review. And then when discussed, then the person responsible of applying it can do so and still review the plan and confirm applying changes. After setting everything on fire so many times, that's what I learned. So it became something like this. I asked one of the developers who was interested in learning infrastructure to try this command in the root folder of Terraform. So it's like /.tf plan, and this is the tag. It's the convention we use for releases that haven't been approved. And then Jesse showed what he was going to do. It was accessible. And then when he applied the changes, we got a notification, and we also got an error notification, and it displayed the log of what was going wrong. So we could all jump in and see in what way we could help this, resolve quickly. And yeah, I'm actually loving this. I was celebrating work, and eventually we managed to tweak these scripts to work much better. And it was easier for me to share documentation with everyone else and get them to learn a little bit of Terraform and give them enough freedom to use the tool to provision their own developer instances. So they can change their images with another script. They can do all the boring side of things without it having to be boring. No more manual processes for as much as we can do. And it worked. Now I don't have to worry so much about errors, human errors that can be sort of predicted or expected. Now I can just focus on improving the infrastructure and thinking of new ways to automate more processes. And this is how I eliminated the frustration factor. And that's all, folks. Thank you very much. The schedule says no questions, right? But if there's any question, I mean, I'm not the oracle, but oh yeah? Wow. Well, yeah, if anyone has a question, I hope I have an answer.
I noticed you have a Slack app for Terraform.
It's a hook. Basically, we use webhooks for Terraform. You have to do a little bit of manual work there, but it's not that complicated. Like the Slack dogs are actually pretty cool. Yeah. Cheers. Sure.
So the CloudFormation documentation is clean, right? How do you think that compares to Terraform? Is it more like that NPM package serverless, or like documentation is amazing, we just spin stuff up and figure it out?
The thing is, they describe things pretty well. The documentation for CloudFormation is not bad, but there are specific needs that are not covered in there, and I found it extremely restrictive. So for everything we wanted to do, we always had to go to customer service, and I don't like talking to people. So yeah, and it was also a lot of back and forth with emails, or maybe what we needed to know. We're restricted. We're basically with CloudFormation, we were restricted to certain machine types that couldn't use ephemeral storage but had the capacity we needed. So it was more on that side. Documentation is good, but after using Terraform, seeing again what the template system for CloudFormation seemed a little bit cryptic for me. That's why.
Yeah, I think we've run into a lot of just the documentation isn't fleshed out, so we have to give a customer service, and then it's elevated up to volunteers, and it's just like you said, it's really
it is difficult. Like a shameless plug to Google Cloud Platform, they actually have a little bit of a better documentation, and they're more approachable than AWS. I feel they are trying to roll out so many features so quickly that they don't have enough time to attend the capacity of their releases, Yeah.
It works well once you figure it out,
but the road to figuring out is, it's pretty much, Anyone else? Well, I'll post my phone number. No. You can find me on Twitter if there's anything I can do to help, and if there are any suggestions from myself, as well. I really like that feedback. Thank you so much, people.